G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/AmITheA A-hole. Now if you love this one like I love you, be sure to smash that like button and tell me what you think about it. Who is the a-hole in this situation? Anyway guys, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Posted by user, Yes That's What Happens 1. Titled, Am I the a-hole for immediately disowning my 14-year-old daughter after I found out she wasn't mine? So I will keep this as short as possible, because I don't want it to blow up and risk people figuring out my identity, and I'm just looking for genuine advice and judgment from a few comments and not more. So I found out my 14-year-old daughter's isn't my biological daughter, but my wife's app's daughter. And to be honest, I always suspected this, and it wasn't out of nowhere, as I had my doubts prior to this. But never have I treated her differently compared to my biological children because of this. Never. So I immediately filed for divorce and decided to contemplate hard and deep about the role I want in my whole life. I was almost leaning for joint custody, where I got to see her once a week or something along those lines, and decided I will be paying child support. Until she and my ex came to house last month to discuss, and she said that she loves me so much, but I need to understand that I shouldn't expect to mean more to her than her biological father. So I lost it, and was so furious and told them both to get the hell out and good luck getting a dime from her broke dad. I feel really crappy about it, and I know I was a jerk for that, but this is not what I'm asking. Will I be the jerk if I decided that I don't want to be a part of the child's life and I don't live in the US, so no laws that require me to pay or anything? Sorry for my English, I'm not a native speaker. Edit 1, I think I made a huge mistake by not including this in the original post. But I'm worried she wants a relationship with me simply for the child support, and I will not tolerate that at all. Edit 2. Okay, now in light of everything that has elapsed in the past few hours, I need to disclose a very important detail that I left out on purpose. We have agreed with my ex and daughter to meet today to finally decide on what's to come. And this was the biggest reason I uploaded this post at the time. I wanted to read every response and perspective possible before taking such a huge step. So I'm going to summarize what happened. I started by telling her that I still love her like the old days, and nothing has changed that. But my strategy to make sure my existence in her life wasn't solemnly for my money was clearly disclosing that I will financially support her on my own accord, and to the extent I prefer. My ex freaked out and tried to guilt trip, but I was having none of that, so I shut her immediately. Now here is where things started taking a turn. My daughter tells me that if that's the way that I want it, seeing her a few times a month, and being more like a close family friend than a parent, she respects my wishes and doesn't want to pressure me to raise someone who isn't his, but she can't take me completely cutting her out of my life emotionally. Now, what's to come is the part that makes me hate myself for underrating how kind and smart my daughter really is, and how vile my ex also is. I make it clear to her that if it was up to me, I would love for her to be with me always, but why I decided I can't fully be invested in her life is because I can't really stand her biological parents. And she suddenly starts sobbing and crying out of nowhere. Her mother is stunned, and I ask her what's wrong. And she tells me that her mother, before catching up and knowing that her bio dad is financially ruined, she was trying to convince her to leave me for good. And now that she hates her mother and wants nothing to do with her mother anymore, and she is ready to give up any future relationships with her bio dad if that's what I want, and I told her yes, that was my only condition. And also she explained she told me those things because she thought I didn't want her anymore and wanted to test the waters and see if I still wanted her to fully live with the family. Now, of course, my ex tried to take her and cut the conversation, and I stopped her, and now she is left while my daughter is still here. So yes, it's now more of a legal court thing more than anything else. And I don't think we're going to get an update on that, but I'm going to read out the advice. Everyone sucks here. This child is not at fault for what the adults around her have done. Agreed. OP's in a tough spot, but it's not the daughter's fault. You raised her for her entire life, and this is just news to everybody besides your cheating wife. I agree as well. The wife could have admitted her mistakes years old, but it's not the child's fault. I think he's going through the emotions now, which is understandable, but to abandon her is silly. If you have been this girl's father throughout her life and suddenly stop because you're not biologically related, then I'm sorry to say that yes, you are the a-hole. Parenting is about a lot more than biology. I understand that you were lied to, and I'm sorry about that. It is inexcusable of your ex. But your daughter should never be blamed for that. Put yourself in her shoes for a minute. She believed you were her biological dad. She loves you, and then she found out she also has another father that she has never met. She was not very tactful in the way she spoke to you about it, but again, she's 14 and in a very confusing space. If you disown her and cut her off now, it will harm her for life. She'll feel like she doesn't matter, only her genes, and it will prove to her on some level that you didn't deserve her love. Rise above that, mate. Prove them all wrong. Be the dad you've always been for her. Who knows if her biological father will even be willing to step up to that role, or if he can do it as well as you have. Please don't punish your daughter, because she is your daughter, for a mistake that was not hers. Be the big man here. Show her what a real father is. Not the a-hole. I mean, your wife lied to you and leeched off of you for 14 years, then your daughter told you that you don't mean as much to her as the biological father. Why would you want to be in their life at all? The personal insults were unwarranted on your side, but it's pretty minimal to what most people would have said in your position. Okay, I don't know if I agree to that one, buddy. I think, personally, everyone sucks here, and that the father has a chance to redeem this by doing what was said in the edits. And I hope that he rekindles the relationship with the daughter, and that they live a happy life separated from those toxic people in their life. That's my hot take. Posted by user Potluck A-hole, titled, "Am I the a-hole for throwing out someone's dish at a Mother's Day potluck this morning? Each year, my neighborhood hosts a potluck for Mother's Day. It's supposed to be a fun way for mums, grandmothers, families, etc. to celebrate. Several people have a common food allergy, lactose intolerance, so we usually set aside a separate table for dishes that don't have cheese. This year, a new neighbor, Sally, came and put her dish on the cheese-free table. I asked her what the dish was, and it turns out it was something with cheese. I explained what the separate table was for and moved her dish to the main table. Sally wasn't happy I moved her dish, and after a few minutes, I noticed it was back on the table for plates without cheese, so I moved it again to the main table again. A few minutes later, I saw Sally moving her plate back to the cheeseless table again. At this point, I had enough. I threw her dish in the garbage because I didn't want someone allergic to cheese to accidentally eat it and get sick. Sally made a scene and really put a damper on the event for many of the neighbors. Some people side with me, especially the lactose intolerant people who were glad I was looking out for them. Others say I took it too far by throwing the food Sally made in the trash. I was curious about whether I was an a-hole in this situation. Oh my god. That's one way to deal with this situation. Everyone sucks here for not practicing social distancing and not being responsible. Info. Just want to make sure. You explained why you moved the dish, correct? If so, not the a-hole. How many times are you going to move it back for her to get the point? She was being ignorant and selfish. Yes, I explained it to her. She believed the lactose table was more prominent, and she wanted lots of people to try her dish. She thought it wouldn't get enough attention at the main table. I explained to her twice that we had people at the event that could get really sick if they ate the food she made. Oh yeah, not the a-hole, especially if people are going to blindly eat the food on the table, expecting it to have no cheese. Not the a-hole, that's shockingly selfish and dangerous behavior on her part. All for a prominent place? Wow. I'm feeling a little harsh today, so I'm high-fiving you for throwing it in the trash. I don't know if you guys realize how hard it is to find a response talking about the actual post. There's just thousands, hundreds of them, flaming them for doing a potluck in the pandemic. Why? Would you guys host a potluck in a pandemic? I don't feel like it's a good idea. Why do this? Posted by user, my husband's work wife, titled, "Am I the a-hole for demanding my fiancé tell his co-workers that he will not be renewing his vows with his work wife when they return to the office? My fiancé Mark works closely with the woman Megan. They both have similar responsibilities and need to work together as a team. I've never had any problems with this. They really don't interact outside of work. We've been working from home the last several weeks. I happened to be in the living room with him yesterday while his office had their weekly Zoom meeting. During that meeting, people began talking about what they wanted to do when everyone returned to the office. I could hear someone say that my fiancé and Megan must really miss each other. Several others began referring to them as work wife and work husband. Then someone suggested that my fiancé and Megan should renew their vows when everyone is back in the office. Mark just played along and joked that they would be registered at Office Depot. I left the living room in tears while he continued, oblivious to how I was feeling. I confronted him after the call and said I felt humiliated. Our wedding was supposed to be in September, but we've had to postpone it, and it's not clear when it will be safe to reschedule, and here he is talking about renewing his vows with someone from work. Mark explained that it was just a joke and not a big deal. He tried to show me some joke article his office had been passing around, and how teleworking is ruining work-wife relationships. I said the term work-wife itself is offensive and humiliating, because I'm supposed to be his wife. I demanded that at his next meeting, he needed to publicly apologize to his office and tell them that he will not be renewing his vows with Megan because he is engaged to marry someone else. I said he also needs to tell his office that they need to stop calling him and Megan work spouses. He says he can't do that because it will be embarrassing and hurt his reputation at work with his colleagues. I said, "Oh, is it hard to feel embarrassed? I would never know what that's like." He called me an a-hole. Now that I've cooled down a little, I need to figure out if I overreacted. Everyone sucks here. I think the whole work-wife thing is disrespectful and silly, but you did overreact to what was obviously a joke. He's not literally going to be renewing his vows with anyone or registering at Office Depot, and forcing him to tell everyone that they need to stop calling him and Megan work spouses is going to make a mountain out of a molehill, and give everyone the impression that you're a difficult person. Just ask him to stop joking about it. No, they were actually planning out how to do it, like where in the office to hold the ceremony and reception, etc. My fiancé was fully on board planning. Meanwhile, I have to nag him constantly to help me reschedule our actual wedding plans. In that case, not an a-hole for asking that he don't go through with it, but it would be embarrassing for him to publicly apologize and say he wouldn't go through with it in front of everyone. Maybe ask him to talk to Megan separately and tell her it's only a joke and won't be doing a ceremony. You're the a-hole, but not for the reason everyone else is saying. Why the a-hole? I demanded that his next meeting he needed to publicly apologize to his office. This is weird, overkill, and embarrassing. Also, doing this type of thing at a meeting could get your fiancé in trouble with HR or something. Don't make him do this. Why I don't think you're the a-hole for the same reason other people do. I am completely on your side that the work-wife thing is weird as hell. Common, yes, but also deeply confusing and often damaging/offensive to the actual wife/relationship. I think you were totally in bounds to put an end to this. I simply think you did it wrong. My boyfriend has a close friend who he called his work wife once. I told him that it made me feel insecure and he stopped. And that was the end of it. I don't understand why you couldn't have just told your fiancé that you don't want him calling her his work wife anymore. Why your fiancé is not an a-hole. He didn't know how much this would bother you. A lot of people do the work wife thing, which makes it seem normal. He wasn't trying to hurt you, but you reacted like he was. Markee thinks that the mantra of happy wife, happy life is usually what you want to go with in life. I know that's an unpopular opinion, maybe, but hey, why piss off your significant other if you do love them and it's not such a huge deal? I think don't do it in a public setting, do what they suggested, do it in private and say, hey, it's just a joke, let's just let this one die out. Let's not do a huge speech and get me in trouble with HR. Seems like a good way to deal with this situation. Posted by user Primary Cartoonist 9, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not breastfeeding my baby because she bites?" My daughter, 10 months old, has recently started biting during breastfeeding. When she starts to bite, I simply tell her no and put her down immediately. I only started doing this recently because my breasts kind of look like a war zone. I'm bleeding and sore because of the biting and simply cannot take it anymore. Instead, I've been pumping, but even that is extremely painful until I let my breasts heal. Instead, I've been doing a mix of pumping and formula. My husband does not like this. He was okay with me pumping and feeding our daughter until I started supplementing with formula. He believes that breast milk is the best and formula is the devil because it's not natural or something. At this age, I'm giving her milk around 4 to 5 times a day and still attempt to breastfeed once or twice a day. It reached the tipping point yesterday when he hid the formula so I'd have no choice but to breastfeed our daughter. I ask him why he's doing this, and he simply says he doesn't think I'm trying hard enough because I stopped, simply because she's biting me, and that a good mother wouldn't stop doing what's best for her child simply because she's in pain. I'm sure you guys would have a field day on this guy. Not the a-hole based on title alone, will go read your post but doubt it will change my mind. Edit, I read it. Jesus freaking Christ, not the a-hole. Is he bloody kidding? I guess not, or else you wouldn't be here. And then that last part, this is just plain awful. There's no mincing words, no other way to put it. How fudging dare he? I'm filled with righteous indignation on your behalf. A good husband wouldn't gaslight his wife into thinking that she is somehow doing her child wrong by making certain her child gets the nutrients she needs, while make certain that her own body isn't relegated to the status of a chew toy. I don't even know you, and I'm fuming. Not the a-hole. And I'm sorry, but if my husband did this to me, hid formula to try to force me to breastfeed, doubled down by accusing me of being a bad mother if I didn't follow his command, I would tell him I'd see the formula back immediately, or I'd see him in court. Same here. I'm incredibly angry over this. My husband overheard me angry typing my response in the next room and was like, "Whoa, who pissed you off?" Lol. He can recognize when I'm mad due to how hard I'm hitting the keys. This one makes me furious. Not the a-hole. Have her bite his nipple and see how much his pain isn't a big deal. Also, you don't need a justification to discontinue breastfeeding regardless, even if you just didn't feel like it anymore. Edited to add, for what it's worth, my husband thinks hiding the formula was a scummy thing to do too. Absolutely not the a-hole, and he is gaslighting you. He's not the one having his nipples bitten off daily. He needs to close his mouth on this one and support you. There's nothing wrong with formula, and your baby is almost at the point where they can eat real food anyways. Does your husband have a history of disregarding your feelings and needs for your body? Does he help equally with the baby? P.S. You are not a bad mother for using formula. Shake my head. He's actively trying to hurt you. Well, I don't think I can read more without the same things being repeated, but I hope I didn't make you guys too mad on this one. Jesus. Posted by user Husband Fail Throwaway. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I no longer want children? I'm not sure why I'm making this post. I already feel like I'm the a-hole here. Guess I'll start with backstory. I, 27 male, married my wife, 25 female, a little over 2 years ago. At first we lived with her parents. I would help out a lot to make up for what was obviously subsidized rent. Then 6 months later into marriage, she got accepted into university at a place 3 hours away, so we got our own place. My wife struggles with a lot of mental illness, so her just getting into university is a big accomplishment, and I support her. We would regularly argue about the amount of work she puts into the house. I work 40 hours a week, and she would be a full-time at university. At first, it was whoever had cooked didn't have to clean the kitchen. Then she stopped cleaning the kitchen after I would cook, so I now clean the kitchen even after she makes herself lunch while I'm at work. Then she stopped cooking dinner entirely, so now I also do all the dinner cooking. We would pick up after ourselves in regards to the living area. She had stopped doing that, so I now come home and pick up after her. I would handle dusting, vacuuming the living area, and she would handle the bathroom. She stopped cleaning the bathroom, and I'm sure you get the idea by now. It all came to a head in an extremely large fight 2 months ago, where I told her things need to change, as I am literally doing all the housework and working 40 hours a week to provide for us. She was apologetic and promised me that it was just because of school, and after her finals were over, things would change. She finished her finals last week. All B's, I am very proud of her, but nothing has changed. I'm not even sure what she is doing while I'm at work, but I come home every day to her not having cleaned up after herself in any way and nothing taken care of. So here is where I think I'm the a-hole. She had a pregnancy scare yesterday after she thought she had missed her period. I knew she wasn't because I was apparently keeping a more accurate track of her period than she was. But she asked me what I would want to name our hypothetical child, and I told her that honestly, I don't want to have a child with her, as I can't trust her to take care of it. Oh my god, you can't say that. She's now saying that I'm an a-hole, that I tricked her since kids were on the table when we got married. It's cruel to take that away from her. Look, I forgot that they were married. I thought that they were just boyfriend and girlfriend going by this. Jesus Christ. You are absolutely an a-hole for your insensitive and harsh delivery. You're not an a-hole for changing your mind about wanting children, or even if you just want to put it off the table for now, but you cannot expect to lash out at her like this in a patronizing way and for her not to be upset. She should be, especially considering the fact that you are aware of her mental illness. This is such a slap in the face for her, I am sure. That being said, I don't blame you for feeling differently based on having actually lived together independently now and better understanding her habits and behaviors. She isn't pulling her weight now, and likely wouldn't, especially with a child in the picture. You need to work on that together before seriously considering having a child. Everyone sucks here. Her mental health issues don't give her a pass for taking him for granted. She passed her finals, why can't she clean? Maybe OP has just snapped from carrying all the weight in this relationship. What does the wife contribute? She went from her parents taking care of her to OP. She is an adult who needs to help run her own home. If her mental health was excessive, I don't think her parents would have consented to the marriage. No, OP's wife is spoiled and needs to grow up. She's married, it's time she put the work in. Everyone sucks here. She should be doing more around the house for sure, especially after promising you it would change. But the way you phrased your response to an innocuous question about a baby name is just so out of left field and off base. It was wrong, and I worry for myself how much my comment was spite. I wasn't raised by the nicest person, and I've put a lot of effort into distancing myself from that kind of behavior. Have you actually had a real talk about why she isn't doing anything? Like an honest talk? It sounds like she's overwhelmed to me, and when she slacks, you just pick up the slack and let it fester. She may be suffering from depression or anxiety, she may be lazy, who knows? But it's a conversation you need to have in a calm and loving way, so you can both have a happy life, together or not. Don't let things fester into resentment, it never turns out well. I'm not sure what an honest talk even is anymore, but I've spoken to her about it every single time that I end up picking up more slack. I actually would leave things for days, reminding her to just do the one thing. She wouldn't do the one thing, and she'd apologize and cry, and insist the thing will be done tomorrow. But eventually, with everything, I would cave because there's not exactly a decent alternative. Clothes need to be washed, trash needs to go out, etc. She is depressed and anxious. I don't believe she's lazy though. She's managed Bs in a pretty competitive university. She says she's working on doing chores in her weekly therapy sessions, but she's been working on doing chores for over a year now, and all that's happened is it's gotten worse. Maybe I'm enabling her or something, but it's not like I have a choice. I guess, say what you will with this new advice and new information that we've been given by the OP here. That kind of sucks. I don't know what I would do in his situation, and I don't think it's on me to comment on their personal lives. I don't know the full story, but if you guys have experience with this, I'd love to know what you guys think. Posted by user Mover Music, titled, Am I the a-hole for saying this is why I married rich? So, my in-laws haven't liked me much since my significant other and I got together 2-ish years ago. First, it was because I was heavily tattooed and a loudmouth. Then it was because I don't do traditional wife things, like cook and clean for my husband and getting a helper. Honestly, their reasons have been archaic, but I got over it and made sure not to interact with them too much, but still remained respectful. When we first met, my significant other bought me an iPhone 8 Plus. His family threw a fit, because how can you be spending so much money on a woman you just met, you're wasteful, etc. They believed I was after his money, and nothing I did changed that. It continued like this with pretty much anything he got me. From a car to a lollipop, it was a problem. I feel like there's a big jump between those two, but we're gonna leave that there. Just the other day, significant other got me the iPhone XI Pro Max because I've been wanting it for a minute. I had previously ordered one, but because of COVID there was no stock for the specific color I wanted. Also because of COVID, I was okay with not using any other device until I got the color I wanted, so I haven't been in touch with family. Well, yesterday, significant other surprised me with the phone I wanted in the exact spec. I was excited to say the least, and obviously went to show it off to anyone who knows me. He also posted it on his status with a caption, "Happy wife, happy life." Hey, that's what I said. Enter the drama. Mother-in-law calls him today asking questions about the phone. Who bought it? Who paid for it? With what money? Etc. I ignored the conversation because it wasn't for me. Then I'm lying in bed sick with a headache when significant other takes a call from her complaining about how much money he's spending on me and how it's not necessary, and why didn't I get my own phone. She then asks to speak to me, where she asks me if it doesn't embarrass me that I'm just spending such a young guy's money, and if I wanted a sugar daddy, her son wasn't the one. I then laughed it off and said, well, this is exactly why I married rich. Imagine not accepting all this stuff from your significant other because people will think you're a gold digger. I gave significant other back his phone and continued enjoying my brand new iPhone. My issue is, he chose to get me the phone. He can afford the phone, and there is really no reason for her to be involved in his finances when he's so old, 29 male. I will add though, he supports his family financially. Significant other is a little bit grumpy because he says I shouldn't have bragged like that to his mum. I'm of the view that it's none of her business and she was going to take issue with something anyway. Who is the a-hole? I don't feel like I am, but a few family members are saying I should have been more humble in my approach. Edit. My significant other and I often buy each other large, lavish gifts. We've been doing this since we first met. However, his mother just believes I'm spending his money to buy him presents, which is not true. My significant other takes care of the bills while I take care of running the household admin. This is an agreement we made and are comfortable with. His mother is well taken care of financially and has everything she needs. I don't work in the sense that I don't have a job, but I do contribute to our relationship in a significant way. I don't want to say that I'm a stay-at-home mum, but something along those lines best describes me. I also do have my own separate income that goes into our mutual savings account because it's not needed at the moment. My significant other and I both get allowances from whatever deals we get that are independent of each other. So he bought the phone with his money, not the combined finances or the money set aside for family/miscellaneous. Also, my significant other and I are married as per our cultural customs. I don't know why that's relevant, but I'm adding it because a few people mentioned it. Final edit. Guys, I promise you, there's nothing wrong with liking money or even having it. I can bet that a lot of you would also want to sit at home and not work, so I don't know why I'm being dragged for that. I'm really not offended by those who have called me a gold digger. Some of your comments have been amazing. I obviously appreciate all the not the a-holes, and maybe just a little bit the everyone sucks here, but I won't be responding to DMs though. That's just weird. I didn't say I'm a stay-at-home mum because I don't do stay-at-home mum type things. I'm more of the Real Housewife of Beverly Hills kind of homemaker. I'm also not a cam girl or SW, sex worker. Lol, I respect that profession, but I'm really lazy, as pointed out by many of you, so I wouldn't have the discipline to follow through. Significant other saw this post and realized how wrong he was thanks to all of your amazing comments, so now he's going to get me a cute cell phone covers to make up for the pain he caused. I've done a crapload to assist those affected by the current crisis in my country. I may be an airhead, but I'm definitely not selfish and have done as much as I can and will continue to do so. Also, I'm not Asian, not from America, and I didn't mean to rub my wealth in the faces of Redditors. I appreciate all of the feedback, but still not apologizing to my mother-in-law. That was a lot to read, and I don't blame you if you zoned out. Everyone sucks here. Your in-laws for caring about how their adult son spends his money, your significant other for handing you the phone when he could have just de-escalated the situation, and you for saying probably the worst possible thing you could have said in that specific situation. AITA, not directly related to your post, But it's weird to be bragging to people you know about a very expensive gift during a time in which lots of people are struggling financially. It's in pretty poor taste, even if you're not intending it that way. OP says she doesn't do traditional wife stuff like cook. Then she says she runs house admin, but isn't exactly a stay-at-home mum. I'm so confused. What do you do all day, OP? She mentioned in another comment that she does contract negotiation for her partner's work, which I think is super awesome. It's contributing together in a somewhat non-traditional way. No judgment from me on the household setup if everyone's on board. I just think the bragging about expensive goods is a little gross. Everyone sucks here. Your husband and you can spend your money any which way you like, provided you're doing nothing illegal with it. Your mother-in-law should mind her own business in any event, but especially if I'm reading you right in that her son also financially supports her. He shouldn't have handed you the phone during his conversation with his mother, knowing she was going to give you crap for something she had no right to be giving crap about. You said, well, this is exactly why I married rich. Imagine not accepting all this stuff from your significant other because people will think you're a gold digger. Which, to be frank, makes no sense at all within the context of your story. Yet you seem to take a lot of pride in it, as if it was some sort of brilliant clapback. It's, at the very best, confusing. You also just kind of sound like an a-hole. I feel like maybe you know this and are okay with it, in which case, more power to you. But the family members who are saying you should be more humble, not sure why that's in single quotes, may be onto something too. Well, I don't know if I have too much of an opinion on this one. I think everything that needed to be said did get said in this one, and I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to tell me what you thought about it down in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, also don't forget to subscribe. It would really help out with my channel growth. And also, a huge shout out to my channel patrons and members. I just love you guys and thank you for supporting me on this journey. If you guys are new to the channel and you'd like to support me, links are down below for the Patreon, or you can click the join button next to subscribe if you'd like to become a channel member. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.